Welcome to the Ransom House podcast. I am very excited for my guest today, Mr. Michael B. North. And this is going to be kind of like one of the newer podcasts I've done where it's not specifically real estate oriented, but he's someone local that I've connected with over the past couple years. I follow him on Instagram, and I've just seen like some tremendous growth from his page and what he's about and what he does. And I just had to have him in here and was super stoked I caught him because I think he's taken off from California in about 3 days. So we rushed to get this done. But you want to just give us a little introduction about yourself and how you came to be who I know on Instagram as this guy with just all this knowledge about so many different topics, relationships, mental health, and just like self-knowledge, self-awareness. So give me a little background on that if you can.
Sure. So again, my name is Michael North. I grew up in New York, mostly, but I've been back and forth between California and New York for the last 20 years. So, unfortunately, grew up in a kind of a rough household initially, which basically it definitely tested my mental health growing up as a child. A lot of trauma. Made some really bad decisions, got involved with street gangs and at an early age in my teenage years, and lived a very destructive lifestyle for most of my life. And fortunately and unfortunately, with the passing of my father, I was able to have an awakening, which completely changed me. So from one day to the next, I became a completely different person. It's basically, I had a lobotomy.
Yeah.
So, and I just wind up, I always had an ability to write since I was a kid.
Was that on you to just kind of be a different person, or was it more like a wake-up call? Or did his passing create a situation where you had to be someone different?
His catalyst, it was the catalyst. His passing was a catalyst for me to change. In fact, I often say that before my father passed, I didn't even believe in God. And when my dad died, I can feel God. So I changed. In fact, there were people that were concerned about my mental health because I became so different so quickly that they didn't even recognize who I was anymore. So yeah, he in a sense,
in the blink of an eye too. It's gotta be like a shock to family and friends. Like, dude, I just talked to you 2 days ago. You don't sound like you anymore.
Yeah, and in fact, it's funny what they say. I actually wind up losing who I thought were friends after my father's passing because I became such a better and more caring person. They only could attach themselves to the negative sides of me, and when they didn't see that anymore, they had nothing to attach themselves to.
I think too, it starts to become intimidating when, one person in a group begins to grow, and it's like almost like you're outgrowing. If they're not willing to hop along for the ride and change and grow with you to go to this next level, you kind of have to leave them. And I don't want to make it sound like you're just like bailing on people that maybe might have been friends.
But you can make it sound like that. I don't care.
But you know what I mean, though. It's like
agree.
There's a reason people do it, and it's not like a purely. It's not that I don't like you. It's that I want something in my life.
Yeah.
And in order for me to get there, I can't keep doing the same shit I was doing my whole life.
That's exactly it. So that kind of led me back to writing. So I wind up at the time having this old blog I no longer have anymore. Although I will tell you, I'm opening up another site as well. But I actually wind up getting into writing, and maybe a year or two later, several years later, social media kind of was really getting big with Instagram.
Yeah.
And I began to write, and it was really just me expressing this situation I was going through. I got in a super dysfunctional relationship with this woman that I had to leave.
Yeah.
And it was therapeutic for me to share my feelings and my emotions, and not thinking in the process of that there were so many people that could relate to the things that I was writing. And that's how I started to grow.
This is almost like a selfish reason. Just not selfish, but it was your little online journal.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Just like, well, then it helps too. Just get the shit off your mind, get it out somewhere, as long as it's not just like festering, causing you like strain and negativity in your mind.
Exactly. So once I got into that place, it just started bringing in a lot of people who can really relate to my writing and the way that I express myself. And one of the first things that I did was find a way to forgive myself for being an asshole.
That's tough.
Yeah, it wasn't for me.
No.
It usually is, but I would say prior to that it would have been. But I say that one of the things that my father had to die because his passing saved me from myself. So I was able to recognize those things that I didn't like and kind of release myself from those things.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was apologize. So let's say like the 2 or 3 women that I dated over like a decade, and apologize for my treatment and my, my emotional issues.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about it was that they all already had forgiven me. So it was really more about forgiving myself than searching for forgiveness from anyone else. And since then, I've never looked back. I've never gone back or reverted into that person that I used to be. So that's
a tough place to be, though. Like I still have guilt for some shit, I might have done 10, 15 years ago.
I do.
And like I think if I had reached out to the people that I hurt, they'd be like, dude, that was 15 years ago. Like, don't sweat it. You're forgiven. But then I would still have that thought process. So let me just cut you off there.
Sure.
Selfishly, I want to ask you, like, how do you forgive yourself? You've done shit.
Yeah.
Just you're ashamed of, or you just.
I am.
If you could do it again, you wouldn't do the same shit.
I wouldn't.
So how do you like come to terms with the fact you can't go back in time and change those things?
You make a real effort to be a better person.
Yeah.
Right? They say
It's actions.
It's actions, right? You have to change for yourself, and that's the best way to apologize to the people that you hurt, and the best way to apologize to yourself is by becoming a better person. And instead of just repeating the same pattern that never brought me happiness to begin with. So I would say it was so natural to change. I really didn't have a choice, to be honest with you. Yeah. Anyone that's ever lost a parent would know, or someone that they really love, but especially a parent, would know what that does to your mind and your soul. It's really gut-wrenching and mind-bending.
Still comes up. How long ago did your father pass?
It's been about 11 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Considerable amount of time.
Yeah.
Has gone by, and you're obviously still impacting your life.
Yeah. And I still let it change me for the better. And I've never been more, proud to wear his name. It's like a badge of honor, because he was an incredible human being.
That's rad.
Yeah.
It's good you can remember it that way, and not just, because I think a lot of people would take what you went through and they'd just be pissed off at this man and blame him for how they be, instead of taking that personal responsibility. And, funny enough, I feel like that's the shit that is wrong with so many different things today, is everyone wants to blame everybody else, or they want an easy way to get to that place where you have to put work in. And I don't think anything's ever going to change about that. There's not like, quick, easy paths to take when you're trying to make real changes. And I think people are scared of the fact they had to put in that real work, which it sounds like you did.
I had to.
And I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. But.
It's interesting. I just had this conversation yesterday with a good friend of mine. And I was saying, man, the hard stuff, I wish you didn't have to go through so much of the hard stuff, and that we can still get the life lesson, and not have to suffer at all, and not have to suffer as much. But, my perspective was kind of shifty. It's like, well, it's what strengthens you. And then the next time you face adversity, it becomes easier.
Yeah.
So if life is a cakewalk, then you would never know what it's like to actually be strong.
Right.
So he reminds me, like, you need to be this way. So that when those adversities do come to you, you'd be like, I got this, which I do. Some of them are really, really difficult.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just requires a choice. Stop struggling. Just make a choice, and that's another way to deal with certain issues. Like, it's usually, do I do this? Do I do this? Just choose one. Yeah. And live with the decision.
It sounds like you've been doing the process long enough too. And just even hearing you talk for 5-10 minutes before we started this, and just the things you've been putting out there. Like when you hear someone say, like, I've been putting it out there, like, you understand how manifesting works.
I do.
And I think a lot of people just, you can't talk shit into existence. It's like, it's not literally talking into existence, but it does something to your mind. It keeps it in the forefront. It keeps it a priority.
Yeah.
And there's I don't know the science behind anything, but there is something to it.
Absolutely. I'm living proof to that. Yeah. I found myself here. I knew I'd have to come back to LA. I'm the only one here. I have nobody supporting me out here. Yeah. But I'm at peace with it. So it's given me the courage to make decisions that a lot of people would make. For instance, just something as simple as moving, right? Because a lot of people are attached to their family. I love my family; they're incredible, but I also love my space.
Yeah.
So, and I love being alone. So, in fact, I'm sure that'll change one day, but I do. I've also noticed that I'm happier by myself than I am when I've ever been in a relationship.
Yeah.
So, and that's some advice to people out there. If you do find yourself happier alone than you are in the current relationship, then you're in the wrong damn relationship.
Right.
You know, until I find something that makes me even happier than I am alone, I'd rather be alone.
See, I don't think even people reach that point because they attach so much happiness, and like I do that. It's like I know me, I know my childhood. It took a while to figure all this shit out, but I know I have attachment and abandonment issues. So for me, being alone is, even as a fucking 36-year-old man, it's a scary thing for me. And like I can now openly admit that, and that's what I work on as when I go to therapy or when I'm dealing with shit with myself. I work on insecurities. And because I understand that's now what's causing all these little, I thought it was maybe this issue, and it's not. It all comes back to when I was a kid. I didn't feel like I had that home where people were going to be there for me, and I was going to be, I could rely on somebody at any moment, except for my grandmother's. But then as an adult, I was looking for that safety net, and I would attach myself to, it didn't fucking matter. Anybody, you're interested in me? Okay, cool. I'll make this shit work as long as you're there.
Yeah.
As long as I have someone I can call, I can text or see.
Yeah.
And I know that there's like my fallback person. And, just getting married, having kids, and having to see what a real relationship is like has forced me to take a look at, okay, what do I really want out of this? What do I want out of life? And maybe not even this relationship. And my wife's going to watch this, and that's not true. I want this relationship to work. But it just, you can't really always focus on how you are with that person. It's like you got to learn who you are as a person by yourself first. And I never did that. And it sounds like at some point in your life, you probably have to do that in order to understand what it is you truly need.
Yeah, I've spent enough time with myself to know myself, and then it took a long time to actually like myself.
Yeah.
So it's not even arrogance. I actually love myself, and it took a long time and a lot of work to get there. So my thing is, I'm a whole person. I'm not looking for my other half. Yeah. When I'm, available and decide to do that again, because right now I really just want to be alone.
You sound like you're so busy right now too,
with
everything that's upcoming. It almost wouldn't be fair for you to put yourself in a relationship right
That's
now.
exactly it. Yeah, I'm just I'm really focused on myself. I'm really enjoying my life. I'm enjoying the journey, even the stuff that doesn't feel so great. And I really do. I would say that most people, you're right, do fall into that same category where they don't know how to be alone. It's why most men, it's funny, a lot of people will say that, oh, I know a lot of women that jump from relationship to relationship. I'm like, actually, guys do the same thing, but they just won't call it a relationship. Yeah. They'll just have 50 girls around to give them attention, and 5 of them they're sleeping with.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're still constantly in the need, need of attention. You know what I mean? You never really learn to work on yourself. I spend almost all my time alone, and I actually like it. It's just me, the beach, and the water.
See, this sounds, I forget what I was watching. Oh, there's this show on Netflix, and my wife and I have burned through everything, so we're watching this one called Outlander.
I've heard of it.
So it's like old Scotland and how they're trying to like fight the British, and there's a story of this guy, but this girl happens to get there by traveling in time, and that's like the cheesy, silly part. It's good. But then they're about to have a baby, and there's a war that's about to start, and he's like about to send her back to the 1950s where she's from. This is like 1730s. And she's like, you sure this is the only way? He's like, yes. And like when I watch this moment where he's getting this lady out of danger, and now it's just him and himself, like he can go fight, he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and it's not going to affect that person that he loves. Like I watch that, and in my mind I'm like, that actually looks freeing to a certain extent, to not have, like, you're only worrying about yourself. And I think when your focus is on that one main issue, you can allow yourself to not spread yourself so thin. Yeah. It's like, because I need to work on my relationship with my wife, but I also need to be a father. I still need to be a son. I still have financial obligations. Mm-hmm. And when you can take away, and don't get me wrong, again, I would never give up what I have for solitude now. But I wish I would have spent more time just experiencing that freedom that comes along with not having an obligation to another person. And so, I mean, if that's kind of where you're at, it sounds like, is like you don't even have the time.
No, I don't have the time, nor
the
do I
energy.
have the interest. I mean, I'm attracting that, through my writing. I'm fully aware that I am, but at the same time, I'm just like, well, I have time. I'm really not really focused on that at all, even though a lot of my writing happens to be romantic. But most of it does. I mean, most of it does really have to do with self-love and self-assurance and trauma, and learn how to heal from that trauma from relationships, trauma from your childhood. I think those are the things that I like to talk about, and what I did, or recognizing those signs in someone else, so that you can either have those situations fixed, or you could just walk away from it, so you can have that solitude, and enjoy that time being alone. Because think about this, it's really easy to get into a dysfunctional relationship or a dysfunctional marriage when you had a dysfunctional childhood, and it's
actually second nature.
It's second nature. And then, but what's even funnier is that then we'll complain about how sucky our relationships are, but it's like, but dude, you actually have comfort in that. You actually chose to be in that
familiarity to you.
Yeah, it's insane. I think it's absolutely insane and appalling to even imagine myself being in a relationship with someone who reminds me of my toxic upbringing. That's crazy to me. I used to do it though. I dated someone. Shout out to my mom. I have the best relationship with my mom, but I used to have the worst relationship with my mom. It was so bad to the point where I dated someone that even looked like her. She looked just like her, same ethnicity too. So it was crazy. Same complexion. It was crazy.
And you said you're Dominican?
I'm Dominican. Yeah, my mom is from Dominican Republic, and my dad was from the Bronx. He was just singing in English.
Okay.
So my mom came from Dominican Republic when she was 10.
I got you.
Yeah. So it was, and she kind of had that same kind of attitude as well. So I was even attracted to that.
Like the spice.
Yeah. Now I'm still attracted to some spice. But I like really strong women. I don't like women that are pushovers at all.
Yeah.
But you still need to be kind to me, because if you're not, I'm going to change the locks. I'm not even going to tell you. It's like, cut yourself off. It's over. So I am a forgiving person, but I'm not one who takes or ignores the signs and things that you do. Like, I take a mental note immediately. I'm like, might not see you tomorrow.
It's actions.
Yeah.
It's all that. See, my whole issue was trying to prevent that.
Yeah.
Like, trying to control. And I'd say, like, okay, I know this is going to upset me, so let me try to talk to you before it happens, which is still, it's a form, even if you're not telling them not to do something, you're just saying, like, oh, this may make me feel uncomfortable. I'm just letting you know. It is a slight form of control still, because all that comes down to is your insecurities.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's more just like, it's healthy communication.
Yeah. See, there's a respect level there too.
There is.
It's almost just like, you're not telling me what to do, but I do care about your feelings, and I don't want to upset you. And if this is something I can live with doing without, then I want to make my partner happy.
Yeah.
I guess there are a couple ways to look at that.
See, that's the reason why I'm really happy about my situation, right? Because I don't want to have those conversations after I'm married.
Yeah.
I want to have them way before I'm ever in a serious relationship with someone. So we don't have, because there's going to be way more important things we need to chat about when I'm
for sure.
And I don't want to waste time on things we should have handled when we first got together. Because if I realize that, you do this, and that, like, you could either correct that if it's really that offensive, or I'm just going to leave.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I see it.
That's the healthy way to do it.
Yeah.
I think with me, because I would get attached. It was just more that, let's figure out how to change this.
Yeah.
So you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do.
See, that could be dangerous on both, for both sexes, because I've actually seen that where they're like, oh, they want to change. I'm like, that person's been who they are for a really long time.
Yeah.
So for you to want to change them, what exactly did you fall in love with? Or did you fall in love with the idea of them,
right?
Rather than who they really are? I don't do that. I don't do that. I see people for who they really are, not the act you put on for show business. I can see who you really are.
Yeah.
Plus, the great thing, we were talking before this. I would like to consider myself highly intuitive, so I'm going to pay attention to behavior patterns. I'm going to see exactly who you are and what kind of personality type that you have, and then I'm just going to realize if you're an asshole or if you're someone that I could actually get along with. So, and that's going to determine. And it's actually saved me. I've had some funny situations. was out on a date with this rather attractive woman, and we were trying to get it together for years. I tried to get togethers, and finally we somehow ran into each other, and she was a lunatic. And I found that out right away. And it was interesting. She was barking at me at dinner. Imagine going on
like in public.
Yes.
Okay.
But not that anyone else can hear her, but she's saying these super offensive things to me, and I'm very well, put together.
Composed.
Yeah, composed. So she's looking like a lunatic, and I don't even open my mouth. I just look at her until she realizes, like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, she didn't even realize how far she went with the nonsense that she was saying to me.
Well, she's used to that toxic relationship where she gets the feedback. And then it gives her something to build on, and you just put an end to that by responding the way you did.
Yeah.
Which I think is really hard for most people to do, by the way. That's like a gift or something you've obviously worked on.
I never thought of it like that. I thought of it as saving my own mental health, because as attractive as this woman is, I'm just like, she's a lunatic. So what am I going to do now? So I'm really good at kind of playing that role. So, and then I'm really good with people. So I told her it was okay. And I was able to enjoy this great meal with this lunatic, and I kept her calm.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this chick will probably swing on me. She's crazy.
Okay.
So I was able to, keep her composed, and we stood together for like another hour and a half, 2 hours at dinner, enjoying the view, enjoying the food, and I took her home, and I just changed my phone number.
Yeah.
So it's just
smart.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a way to play it. So it's gotten me out of like situations like that where I'm just like, wow, this is not a good. And then also self-love and self-respect has gotten me out of other situations similar to that, where these women will be really mad that they weren't getting something that they really wanted from me. But I'm just like, dude, you're not the one.
Yeah.
So, and then you got to know how to talk to people because some of them are aggressive,
You got to probably be pretty tactful in your breakups.
I am. Yeah. One time I was meeting this woman, and she just expected it to be so much more than it was. But when we finally met, it just wasn't there. I'm just like, you are an attractive young lady, but I'm not attracted to you.
Feeling,
I don't have that feeling for you. Yeah. And she just was coming so hard, and I just had to let her know. I was like, and then when she got angry,
it's tough to do too from your side as well.
I found it rather easy.
No, okay.
Yeah,
sorry, I don't like hurting
because
people's feelings, but I think it comes back to me wanting people to like me.
That's a big thing for a lot of people. I think I've trained my mind to a point where what I professionalize in is I do care about people's feelings. That's why I do what I do. I want to make people, but at the same time, I have no problem cutting you deeply just to get you the hell away from me.
Right.
But I'll do it in a really tactful and tasteful way that'll make you look at yourself and make you realize, like, maybe I am messed up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me, it was totally you. And that approach, I guess, works for me.
It could go either way.
It could.
You catch the wrong girl on the wrong day.
But it's delivery.
Yeah.
Because what happens is I won't be aggressive. I won't curse. I won't be loud. I'll be very, very calm. And that's going to make them feel calmer.
Yeah, that's the quote, right? It's
probably
not what you say, but
it's how you say it. Yeah.
I always used to make jokes about that, like where I'm smiling at my kids before they could talk or anything. Me and my wife would just sit there, and I'd just say like really offensive things to them, but I'd say it in like the smiliest little, "Hi, how are you, little fucking asshole?" And like they're sitting there smiling, laughing, and I was like, oh, "Okay, yeah, I guess there's something to that quote."
That's perfect, man. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You could do that with adults.
Yeah.
So I put that into play, and but no, it's like, you were talking about it earlier. So basically, I mean, it's funny. I went from being this super selfish person when I was really, really younger to, then my dad died, and I just wanted to serve. Like, I love to help people. So I write, and even before even DM was a thing on Instagram, I was already writing, right? So I was the most incredible thing. What happened to me is I would get these testimonies, all these testimonials from all these people from all over the world randomly, and they would write a comment or say something, and then when they were able to contact me through DM, they would just say the kindest things, both men and women, saying, "Hey, listen, your writing helped me get through the hardest parts of my life."
Did that start surprising you when you started getting?
Hell
I'm
yeah.
sure you get a lot of those messages because you put out so much content, and every single thing you put out, here and there, I like that you sprinkle in some really funny shit.
Yeah, I got to.
You have to. You got to keep it light. You can't be serious 24/7.
Exactly.
But everything else that you put out there, there's always some really good like lesson or moral, and you make people think. That's why I followed you for so long.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I had like that little stigma in my own mind just for being, raised on social media. Like the person's only validated as whatever they stand for, is if they have a certain amount of followers. I don't think you barely had shit. Like you had thousands, but you weren't like decimal pointing in where you're at now. I don't even know where you're at now, but I think you're gonna probably right up here in the next
crazy.
month or
Like,
two, close to 100 grand or 100. Sorry, 100.
No, it's not that far. I'm like at 17 and change.
Oh,
but
okay.
I've been picking up a couple hundred a week.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's
and it does that.
The content
it'll grow
has,
exponentially.
Yeah,
too.
the content has actually gotten to the point where, I'll tell you this. So it's there's also just I'd probably say that's the most rewarding thing is the people coming to you, and then that led me to what I do now, which is provide coaching services for people all over the world.
Yeah,
and they can relate to me. And what's really, really cool is they're not of any particular ethnicity or religious beliefs.
Yeah.
They're from everywhere, both men and women. And I think even my background has even gotten me some interesting clients where I would say men in particular, let's say a little bit more rough around the edges, or from the hood or something like that, or just a tough guy. They'll see me and they'll say, okay, this guy kind of reminds you of me, but he's more in touch with his feelings. And then they'll check out my background and then read my bio, and they'll say, oh, this guy grew up like messed up like me. And they would be more open to speaking to me. I've actually picked up a few clients that way, just because they can relate to my background and upbringing, and it's made them more comfortable expressing themselves with me.
Well, yeah, you open the door for it.
Yeah.
When you can, I think, show some vulnerability, it makes people feel more at ease talking to you about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I only know that from talking about like, alcoholism and some of the stuff I'd go through, but putting that out there, I had people reach out to me. I would have never have guessed that something was causing them problems in their life, because everything on social media looks perfect.
Yeah.
And then they reach out, hey, I've been struggling with this. This is my story. I just want to let you know that last thing you wrote. And I'm just like, really?
Yeah, you're right. It's dope, bro.
It's surprising, but it's that vulnerability. Like, well, I said it first. I said, hey, I fucked up X. And
well, how many people do you know that are willing to even admit that? Most people don't even want to apologize or take responsibility for their...
You don't change unless you do that, though,
in
my opinion.
And you're right, but you happen to also... I mean, I don't know what you majored in school, but you also happen to be able to express yourself quite well. So that's going to make people in general, but other men, because you're a manly dude too.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're a square. Nothing wrong with being a square. I'm just saying, you're more relatable to even me. I can read. I'm like, wow, that was dope. That was I could actually understand that. And I could actually appreciate that. So you've done the same, back to me as well. So it really isn't, and especially when you can be that vulnerable. And let's be honest, vulnerability is hard for people in general.
Super hard,
especially for men.
Most people I know still have trouble admitting faults or looking at themselves introspectively.
Yeah, that I would say. It's funny. I would say a lot more women, I don't care how sexist it sounds, don't apologize.
Yeah.
But a lot more men still won't be vulnerable. So it's an issue on both sides, and both things do represent vulnerability and accountability and maturity. And you can have this and that, but you never emotionally matured to the point where you can actually make a relationship work. Right. Because if you continue to be like that, it's not going to work out for you.
No, pride and egos will kill a relationship in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I think that's where both come from.
Well, I think, there's advantage that you just said that too. So because I don't bring pride and ego into a relationship, when it doesn't work out, I feel great.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I didn't do it. You did it. So I can actually put full blame on the other person, or let them, or they do, because if they're mature enough, they'll actually admit it. They're like, wow, you were really nice to me. Well, yeah, I was. I let you kill it.
Right.
I just sat back and let, you brought the noose. You hung yourself. I didn't do that. So there's advantages to actually, to being that way as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
So take me back a little bit to New York. You were born in New York.
I was born in New York.
And what city or what part? I don't know what they call it, like districts or anything. Where'd you grow up in New York?
So I grew up in Westchester County.
Okay.
When I went to school in Westchester County, I would say I grew up between Westchester and the Bronx.
Okay.
Which is where I got my
Like you mix
shady
of both
background.
sides,
Yeah.
or-
But it also just made me more well versed. How I got familiar with that was I noticed that where I lived, there wasn't many people that looked like me, meaning like brown.
Yeah.
So my parents took me out. They took us out of the Bronx early on.
So let me cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
I know California, it's like everyone here, to most people, if you're brown, you're Hispanic Mexican.
Yeah.
Just because we don't have a lot of people that came from like Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. But I
Yeah.
heard New York, it's like the same thing, but Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
Now, did that affect you being more Dominican Republic, or do people up there, it's just like if you're brown, you're brown?
There's so many damn Dominicans in New York. So, and Puerto Ricans, and the beef between them is totally dead.
Okay.
So,
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, it's been dead for a long time, and most of my family's Puerto Rican. So I've only really grew up with Puerto Ricans. In fact, I didn't even hang out with Dominicans till I was like in college. So I knew what they were, and I knew that I was one of them, but I never really hung out with Dominicans. I only really hung out with Puerto Ricans.
Okay. So it wasn't like a lot of the cultural stuff. You're around 24/7.
Yeah.
It was more Puerto Rican.
Yeah, it was either black or Puerto Rican. Like that was all I really. But then I had a diversity of where I lived because it's predominantly Caucasian.
Yeah.
So that's where I went to school. But then if I wanted to date, I wanted to date people that looked more like me, and they weren't where I lived.
Yeah.
So I went to the hood.
Shit. Fly down to Miami.
Yeah. So that's what happened with me. I wind up going and then being introduced into what was going on in those neighborhoods, which is why I picked up some shady habits.
Yeah. But that is such a huge advantage to have. Like I know you've probably thought about that already, but when you talk about growing up and like a lot of your neighbors and the people you're around are Caucasian, but then you had your friend groups and a lot of the people that you were influenced by were either Puerto Rican, African American, whatever it was for you. Mm-hmm. It's like that's kind of like Dave Chappelle's story, like because he always
I wasn't
talks
aware
about,
of that.
So he comes from Ohio, I think.
Yes, he does.
But I think it was like a middle class or rich white neighborhood. But then he also had like his affiliations with, wanting to be around people that are like you. And so that perspective that it gave him, I think, is what kind of enabled him to be such a freaking phenomenal comedian. Is because it's not just like it's one size fits all. Like you can talk to me, like I was telling you, I would have no idea what you looked like if you and I spoke on the phone. I'd never seen you. I just would not. And I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah. No,
not to say I'd picture you being white. I just don't see a giant ass freaking beard.
Yeah.
Like sleeve tattoo.
Yeah.
All the same stuff. Like people are surprised still that I have tattoos. I'm like, yeah, but it's a cat, so that's not gangster.
No, it was interesting. I get that a lot, and it's actually gotten me out of, some bad situations because, like I said, with the police, when they hear me speak, they're like, oh. They'll see me and they'll have a little bit of concern. And when they hear me speak in my demeanor, they just totally calm down because I'm not going to be aggressive.
Yeah.
And you have a gun.
So
it doesn't really it's not going to work out for me either way. But that did give me diversity. I never really knew the story of Dave Chappelle to that extent. But it definitely gave me a lot of, I guess, life material.
Yeah.
And an introduction of a different side of life. And then I would say, unfortunately, at the same time, got me involved with really bad things that were going on in that neighborhood. And that's how I got attached to the gangs.
Yeah.
Because they were in those neighborhoods.
Okay.
And, years later is when I flew out to LA and I started becoming affiliated with both sides of gang culture,
Yeah. East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
That's like you grew up in the 80s and 90s.
I
and
did.
There's like the rivalries between like the Tupac Biggie stuff that started.
Yeah, I was there for all of that. Yeah, I remember all of it.
Like you had to pick.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to be on both sides of
Yeah.
things.
And then I was in New York during the gang explosion in the 90s.
Yeah.
For we often label it as the blood transfusion because it's everyone just became a blood.
Yeah.
It was out of control. So
except for Snoop, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, he's from Long Beach.
Yeah.
But I mean everyone in New York, it was just
so you still have those same gang like affiliations?
Yes,
like
I will
cross
I will always be affiliated with the gang. I've only belonged to this, this particular Pyru gang. I'm an Elm Street Pyru.
So it is essentially like a fraternity. Like you go
Yeah.
through that, you go through it, and you have your experience, and like you put your time in, and then it's kind of like throughout the rest of your life, it's like you have that little connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody that's ever been affiliated with that gang.
There's honestly, here's the other thing too, though. There's such a beautiful side to it. It's not all
That's
about
what
like,
I was kind of going with this.
Yeah.
It's like there is that fraternal
there is
part of it where like you experience that brotherhood that you just,
yeah.
it's a step beyond just like acquaintances and friends.
Yeah. Actually a lot of people became family to me.
Yeah.
Very, very close to me. We built real friendships. Like it was friendships outside of the gang, like to the point where like we were able to tell the men, yo, I love you, bro.
Yeah.
So it actually taught me some emotional intelligence as well, just by being around men that were really willing to not just die for me, but also live for me. Like some of these guys are really, really good guys. Some of them are a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I won't lie about that, but some of them are not, and there's actually hope for them. And they, but all in all, they all want the same thing, right? Which is a better life for themselves and their family, and their families. So I had a strong understanding to them and connection to them as well from the very beginning.
That's what I think sucks, that I don't think a lot of politicians and like basically old white people get is that's the option when you're in that trap to be able to get money, to be able to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And I don't think they get there's it's like, no, you can't just go and walk in and like, have you tried to work for minimum wage and just pick up a job and afford to live literally anywhere except for like some shitty little place in the Midwest?
Yeah.
Like, no offense if there's anybody in the Midwest with money that's gonna move out here, still call me. I don't hate you, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Any place that you're gonna grow up where there's like a city and it's fucking expensive.
Yeah, especially here.
Yeah,
New York the same way. New York is worse. In fact, there's not even I think New York is much more expensive than here.
Yeah, so I think you look at your options. You're like, do I want to have to struggle to provide food for my family, or do I go join a gang?
Yeah.
And then
then you can get money legally.
Then you can get money at least.
Yeah.
But if it's the difference between risking going to jail but potentially not getting caught, or feeding your family, like as a father and a husband.
But it was interesting.
I have morals, but I know what I'm picking.
People, so there's people don't realize that there's different roles for different gang members. Like, so there's the ballers, like there's the dudes that get the money from it, and they tend to often be less violent, although they can be violent as well. And then there's like, there's like the shooters, so they just put in the work for the gang, like in that way, but so is making money because you're providing for the neighborhood, and which could we're not going to get into everything.
Even
but
going
with
way
me,
back,
I was more attracted to the violence.
Yeah.
Actually, I liked it.
What about it did you like?
It made me feel powerful.
Yeah,
that I could do horrible things to people.
Yeah,
and because I wasn't treated well growing up, so I took that out on other people because I didn't like myself. But the truth was, and I'm not looking for a pity party here, it really was just a cry out for help. So my aggression and that violence that I began to enjoy also really took a toll on my psyche. So it wasn't a good mental health, I wasn't in a good mental health space at all. And it was to the point where my twin and I was so active that I just really wanted someone to kill me.
Yeah.
Because see, it's funny. They say people that kill themselves are cowards, but I was too cowardly to kill myself. So I was hoping someone else would do it for me so that I can just be put out of my misery. But, thank God that's not what happened.
Right.
And here I am today, just trying to be a positive role model for society.
You're here. You might as well do something with it.
Yeah. I'm here to serve, bro.
I always think about that too. I've dealt with depression issues in the past, and people, you think about it every now and then. I don't know if that's normal, if people are going to just be watching this and just be like, you thought about killing yourself.
No, it's normal.
I like to go through every single process, every single situation, try to think it through. And at the end of the day, you come to a conclusion like, nah, it just won't work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for X, X, and X or whatever.
Yeah. Just think about how it's going to affect other people.
And that's reason number one that I think most people are just like, I can't even consider that. I just thought about it for a second. But, yeah, like I used to go back to that place, and one is because I didn't have like that spirituality. I think that's a big part.
It is,
because what I used to do is just like, before I had like God as foundation, and that's something that's newer for me. I grew up Lutheran, basically just Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned 13 years old. I think 12 or 13. My mom gave me the option to not have to do that stuff. then of course I'm going to go surfing if I don't have to go to church on Sunday morning.
That's what I would have done.
And I just let it go for a long time. And it's like only now that I have kids and I'm starting to understand there's like so much more to it that you don't think about until you're presented with different situations in your life where it's kind of the only option anymore.
Yeah. And
then you go through it thinking, okay, this is silly, but hey, I'll invest myself. I'll give it a shot. And then you do. And I don't think it matters what it is as long as there's like that belief that, and I hate to go back to AA shit, that there's a higher power, but at the same time, it can't just be like, oh, I praise rocks, you know?
Yeah, that's weird.
Or like nature and stuff. Like, sure, there's something great about all that, and there's something huge, but like, and I don't want to go down this huge, like, it's just not me to still talk about, you know, God and spirituality too much. I'm just not there personally, and I don't want to speak like I am.
Yeah.
But the people that select God as their higher power versus nature or some other force, like just proven even in AA, the statistics of people being able to succeed at that program, like it's so amplified by it being God. Yeah. Not just a made up God that's something more powerful than yourself.
I think it's all the same thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, when people say, oh, the universe, I'm like, I could argue with you and say, well, who created the universe? But their belief is still the same. It's just they want to call it something different.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those people also were beat down from their parents who just drowned them in religious beliefs and made them go to church so much that it made them sick, or the mosque or the synagogue, whatever it is that. And that's the funny thing too. We also all pray to the same God. It's ridiculous. Even I know that. You know, so. But
we'll kill each other if you call him a different name than I do.
Yeah, it's so. Oh my God, the ignorance. But obviously there's an agenda behind that as well, right?
Oh yeah, it's fueling military spending for sure.
We always got money for wars, bro. Right? We always got money for wars. But it's interesting, man. I really don't care where people are from. I just really care if you're an asshole or not.
Yeah.
You know, that's whether I determine whether or not I want to be around you or not. That's, well, most of the people in even relationships that I've had where, you know, I'm Muslim, you know, alhamdulillah, but I'll marry a Jewish girl, I'll marry a Christian. Yeah. I don't really care. A Buddhist, it doesn't really matter to me as long as you're actually a really, really good person and believe in something bigger than yourself.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. I was like, do they have to have some spirituality? Or can they just say, I don't believe in shit, but I'd like to leave this earth better than I found it?
Yeah, I do that. So I would actually, at this point, I wouldn't even be with a woman who doesn't have a much, not even just a little, a lot. She has to have a much higher sense of spirituality. And I don't even mean religion. I don't even care if you're not even religious. I wouldn't even exactly call myself that. But you have to be conscious. You have to serve. Like, you have to be here and have an agenda, and your agenda has to be, how am I going to make this place better? How am I going to make my life better? The people around me and the people that they affect as well. Yeah. If you think about yourself only, I'm not the dude for you. Right. You know, and I don't even want to be around you on a friendship level either, because you're lower vibrational. So you know, one day when you find yourself, come look for me. We'll talk. But in the meantime, and I'll pray for you. But in the meantime, I'm like, bro, I don't even want those people around me, you know. Yeah. Plus, I found that the people that are more like me tend to make me happier. Yeah. So they increase my peace, and they also increase my happiness. I'm happy and at peace with myself, but it's also cool to come across people that have a like-minded, way of living and thinking.
It sounds a lot tougher if going through and someone's sitting there arguing with everything you're doing and saying. Like, just
I've done that.
The friction that it creates, it's like it's a lot simpler and more peaceful to just find someone where they don't have to do that.
Yeah,
like
I've experienced
you say something,
that.
you act a certain way, they're just like, yeah, it's Peter, he does him, and I agree with most of the shit he does, but like, even to have that mentality to not have to correct you and be like, well, why'd you do that?
Well, it's funny, you just remind me something my mom said. So when my dad died and I had my awakening, my mom is hilarious. You know, again, shout out to my mom. She's one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. She's so funny. So she winds up saying to me, I remember one day she was introducing me to some of her friends. This is after I had my awakening. She's like, "Oh, this is my son Michael. He's a hippie. He doesn't nothing bothers him." And I just laughed. That's how she introduced me to her friends, because she liked who I became, but she just wanted to tease me a little bit about it, you know. And I would say the greatest thing about it too, though, was when I did become this person, it healed my relationship with my mom. Yeah. You know, so, and she didn't apologize, but I didn't really need an apology, to be honest with you. Yeah. Right. Change behavior is the best apology. And she's incredible. And I realized as I got older, she did the best that she knew how with what she was given. Right. and now she's super dope. Like my mom's incredible. So my mom's my best friend.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a good relationship.
Oh, dude, she's the best.
So you were in New York, and so obviously this wasn't a young move when you came out here. So you were ingrained in New York, and a lot of New York rubbed off on you.
I came out here the first time when I was 20, like 20 years old, 2021.
Had you lived anywhere else, or just only New York?
Only New York.
22 decades straight of being a New Yorker.
Yeah. So I was in there, in the streets, out of the streets, just New York to the core.
Yeah.
And then
so it is extra surprising you have like zero asshole vibe to you then.
Yeah.
Like not only from like
I would say
rough childhood, but I've always just heard, and people I've met, they're
that's
just,
a compliment.
They're sharper.
Yeah. No, I would say, not to toot my own horn, but I am very, very sharp, and I'm very, very intuitive. So I read people when they don't even know. Within minutes, I'm just already analyzing everything about the way you speak, think, behave, breathe, your energy, everything.
I'm not even going to ask you then. You're just sitting here making me, fuck, what's he thinking about?
But, but I did learn that from being in New York, but also just from having my awakening. But the first time I came out of here, dude, I didn't know shit.
You go straight to LA or Long Beach area?
You're
in Long Beach now, right?
I moved, the first time I moved to LA, I moved to, not Glendale. It was actually
Glendora.
No, not Glendora either. It was what is it? Not too far from like Duarte.
Okay, so like just kind of still like LA, but more towards like the Inland Hills area.
In that area, yeah. And then, but I was like heavily into the gangs at the time, which made my girlfriend at the time super nervous. Even though she grew up around it, she wasn't in the trenches in it. You know what I mean? So I was like her intro. So the first time I hit Crenshaw, just flamed up, just wearing super red, I'm a super dude. It was funny, man. And I remember the OGs are like, bro, they'll kill you.
I was gonna say, you sound like a big target.
Yeah, I was. I was a moving target. And but I mean, when you're 20 years old, who's gonna tell you anything?
No. King of the world.
But the funniest thing too, I'll tell you this funny situation. Hopefully that dude is alive. I don't really know. But I remember I went into this barbershop. I was can't remember where it was, and my barber happened to be from. He was actually a neighborhood Crip, and he saw photos of me because he wanted to know how he wanted me to cut. I had a short beard at the time, and in the photos you could see me with like 100 blood throwing up gang signs, and he's just like, "Can I talk to you real quick?"
So how does that go? Is that just like a big no-no? Like you got to go get your hair cut by someone else now?
Nah, the dude was really, really cool. I didn't really know the politics of LA at the time. And dude was like, listen, if I was some other dude, he's like, you a Pyru? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, Pyru shot me. So he's like, I really have a reason to get you killed. And he's like, he proceeded to tell me the story that I got shot on Sunday going to church outside the church from Pyru. They shot him at church. That's super disrespectful. Yeah. And he was just like, but I'm going to do you a favor. He's just like, I'm going to tell you, don't ever show these photos to anyone else. And I think I'm going to still cut your hair. Like, so he's like, and he goes, how old are you? I was like, I'm 20. He goes, you're too old to gangbang at 20.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I've never heard that before. I wound up liking this dude. And that was kind of like my introduction to really like dealing with Crips.
Yeah.
And then I started meeting a ton of them over the years, and I was just like, I really like these dudes. And I realized that what I was, fed was bullshit. I'm like, these dudes are just like us.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're the same. These are my brothers. It's bullshit. So I got over that rather quickly. In fact, I find myself even more comfortable around them than I do around, some dudes on the same team,
Yeah.
But I'm good wherever I go. I like everyone. If you don't like me, I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's not I don't really worry about your feelings about me anymore. I like me. So I think that's the most important thing.
For sure. It's the only thing that matters.
Yeah. So, that's what it was. I came here, got a little bit of that, stayed here for a bit, wound up going back to New York not long after that. But then it was always traveling back and forth, like a lot. I spent a lot of time in LA, and then I wound up moving back like 3 years ago, and again, being back and forth, I was filming a project in New York. So I do act. We'll talk about that another time. But and then coming back here again, and just really liking the vibe here. The energy, and
it's not a bad place to live.
It's not, although COVID decimated this place.
It did.
So,
or at least Orange County tried to stay a little bit open
I
as
get
opposed to like LA.
I
I don't know
di-
how Long Beach is because you're kind of
Long Beach is a disaster,
Yeah.
but I would say that yeah, Orange County got it right. You know, they
Yeah.
definitely
I was able to keep sanity here. If I lived in LA or anywhere where you went total lockdown, dude, I would have lost my mind.
it was horrible. It's horrible. I mean, the only thing is that at least Santa Monica and Venice Beach is open.
Oh, they
Right.
are now?
They've always been open.
Oh, okay.
But you can't go on any rides in Santa Monica. You could just walking along the beach, riding your bike is therapeutic enough to not want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because it's depressing.
It
LA is a
is.
disaster.
You need interaction. You need sunlight. You need exercise.
Yeah.
And I feel like talking to you, you'd probably get this more than most people too, just having like that intuitiveness and that connection and understanding that that's a big part of just being alive and living a life
Yeah.
is having those connections.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
we got stripped of that.
We did.
Everybody did.
You
And
know, I know that some people really have good intentions, but to the extent that it's being done is not healthy for the spiritually, mentally, emotionally,
physically,
it's not healthy for you. You know, and think about this. What no one's really talking about is the mental health of people during this time. How many people have lost their jobs? How many people are not making money? How many people more people became homeless?
I
It
heard
definitely
it's-
increased out here.
some point, I forget when it had passed, but more people had died from like suicide, job losses, mental health shit than actual COVID deaths over the last, fucking coming up on a year now. And like again, don't take that for truth, but I think if you go search, you'll probably find a
I
couple.
believe it. I don't even need to read it. I will
But
read
they
it.
don't talk about that stuff. Like COVID almost, I mean, me fucking up and being a not good dude almost made me lose my marriage, but it all stemmed from COVID and just the complication it caused in real estate financially for the family. And then
It's a big part, bro.
it ignited just more tension, more sitting at home, not having the business come in and wanting to drink because but my bank account just, I was supposed to get 60, 80 grand, whatever. I had 3 deals canceled, and I was like, okay, that was my taxes. Like now I need to start putting money on credit cards, and now my financial situation for
More
my family
stressful.
is at big risk. And then that just the stress of that alone, just to the tension, that right. Like so, I don't blame that. I take full responsibility for my actions last year
Yeah.
and where it put me, but it's hard not to think that if COVID didn't happen, that all of that wouldn't have gone down.
Well, it wouldn't have happened. We can be that direct. It wouldn't have happened.
It wouldn't have.
Maybe you would have made some mistakes. It wouldn't have been those mistakes.
It wouldn't have been, but it was kind of like your father dying for me. Like I needed that to happen, to have that wake up call. Otherwise, who knows if I'd be taking, a lot of the issues that I've dealt with my whole life so seriously.
It's perception, right?
Yeah.
It's really you can choose to focus on all the negative, or you can find a way to make it work for you. That's the thing that I've learned to do since my dad died. There's luckily I've also been able to have people around me, or at least in my life, if they're not around me, to remind me of what I have and who I am and what I mean to other people. If I ever was down, 'cause I've had plenty during this time. Absolutely, I was reminded of what I overcame all those years ago, and said, "Did I really overcome it? Because I feel like shit right now." Because it's depressing. I went from traveling and doing extremely well to being like, man, can I really afford this? Do I really need this?
Yeah.
And that's really depressing.
Oh, for sure. You feel like you lost a step in life, like you had to go backwards.
Yeah. And I'm an adult, bro. And I'm just like, this is, and then I think also, no disrespect to anyone else, but what about a lot of these entertainers? It's not just rappers, right? It's everyone. They're still out there with their billions doing their thing and saying this is what life is about. And then people are even further away from having any kind of success. Yeah. And then this is thrown in their face. I don't really care about that, but I'm sure there are people that do. Those people,
For sure.
Those people, I feel, do have a responsibility if they're in the public eye, no matter what level of entertainment that you're in, and you're bragging about the 5 gold chains you got today, or how much you made on your stupid lipstick line that nobody cares about.
Kylie Jenner shit. I made a joke. It was a post because she was in some it was a badass shower, but it's low water pressure. Like, oh, $35 million house. This is the water pressure you get.
Yeah.
So the way
everybody was on that.
The way that she handled that was by posting a different one of her house's bathrooms that she spends more time in. And it's just like beautiful frameless glass, all like white quartz or marble. I didn't look close at the picture, but it's like a $150,000 bathroom. And I was just like, that was probably like the least humble way that you could have addressed just low shower pressure. Like let people that have to live with low shower pressure because their building's falling apart laugh about this. And instead she said, well, I'm so rich.
She could have made that really funny.
She could have just been like, well, fuck, I guess I overpaid then. Or just anything. There's so many ways, but to say, well, that's actually not my main shower. This fucking huge, beautiful white shower is. And I'm just like,
But then, not that we'll go too deep into that, but society supported someone over their lipstick who doesn't even have real lips.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, this is the society that we live in. Like and I think that's the problem too. We talk about, mental health and all these other things, but the thing is, I think we're all focused. Most of society is focused on the wrong things.
Yeah.
Like they should be taking a look inward, not outward.
Do you think we'll correct? Like, I know my mindset, and I see people like you, and I meet a lot of people that have that mindset that, like, okay, at some point, like, we're going to have to start reeling this back because these aren't the important things in life. Or you just feel like the second Instagram and Facebook and Google and Amazon, all this shit was released, it just became its own animal, and there's just nothing we can fucking do to stop it now.
I think,
or we can even make it more narrow too. Like,
no, you don't have to. That was actually perfect. I think that you can choose to focus on what you don't like, or you could just play your lane, and because you never really know, right? What you just told me earlier, you never really know who you're inspiring.
Yeah.
So you play your lane to, while let's say that person has 10 million followers, most people that are following those people are not people you even want to associate with anyway. So I don't really care about those people. Second, know that you're doing good, that you're actually doing something that's beneficial not only to yourself, but the mental health or the emotional health of others. And that's just what I focus on.
Yeah.
Like I don't really even let myself become oversaturated with the dumbness, because let's be honest, most of the stuff you see on social media is trash. It's so stupid. It's not. I'm like, wow, I can't believe people really care about this, and they do.
And then you look down, there's 300,000 likes on it. And
yeah,
like,
and like 10,000 comments.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow, people really. If it's someone that's really, really talented that deserves that compliment, I'll give it to them. I'm not a hater either.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I do admire real talent, whatever it is. I don't care if you're the best painter in the world, whatever it is. I'll still give it up. I'm not a hater at all.
Yeah.
But those nonsense pages that we were discussing, I don't follow that garbage. Like, why would I care about those people? They're not doing anything for anyone other than themselves.
Yeah.
Or if they donate money to tax write-off, they don't really care about anyone.
Yeah.
Like, don't be fooled by how much they donated to the children's hospital. They don't care. You know what I mean? I'm doing
publicity.
It's publicity
and tax write-offs.
Yeah. I'm here to serve. I'm here doing something positive, and you're doing the same thing, while also making a living as well. And I'm doing the same.
So is that where you make? And I hope you don't mind me asking about financials and stuff. So do you? Because you counsel people.
I do.
Is that pretty full time for you, or is that just something that you started doing like more recently, like in the last year or so?
I would say I started doing it more recently, especially when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Because there's a
opportunity
lot of
came up.
Opportunity. Again, right? I could look at it and say, what am I going to do now? But people were kind of riding me for a long time. They're like, dude, why don't you offer any kind of services, or why don't you do any podcasts? Like, why are you not speaking, more? We love what you do, but we want more. And it's like, oh, this actually can be lucrative for me.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't just about that. It's like,
you get to do something you like doing and you're helping people. If money's there, awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's your focus.
That's it. No, it's not. It's actually not. Even though, it's not the best time in the world right now, those people need it more than ever.
Yeah.
So, and I just enjoy, I would say some of the stuff I probably would say I didn't sign up for, but I guess I did unintentionally.
Yeah.
Because some of these stories you'll hear from people, you're doing the right thing, but what you're hearing from some of these people and some of their testimonies, bro, they're so intense and they're so heart-wrenching. It makes you look at your life like, wow, I grew up in Disneyland, because my life is nowhere near as bad.
I'm sure you hear crazy stories, right?
Dude, so one of the things that
'Cause
really,
you probably get it, and just to go back to what we're talking about,
yeah,
you probably get people admitting crazier shit to you because you've been so vulnerable.
yeah,
Whereas if you just walked in, you're just some old white dude with glasses and khakis with your little book and notepad.
yeah,
I'm probably gonna be hesitant to feel you out for a little while first.
yeah. With me,
You're very personable, so I would feel very comfortable just
thank you.
laying it out to you. So
Oh yeah. Plus, I don't judge. Plus, I've seen it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've seen it all, from death to drugs, the drug addicts, to murder. I've seen it all. So
you're not gonna be shocked by anything someone tells you.
No.
Okay, so
But some of it does I would say some of it does catch me off guard, especially any kind of like sexual assault victims.
yeah.
Like, they kill me. I need to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Those are the only scenes in movies I can't watch.
Yeah, I
For
can't.
some reason,
I
just
don't
rape
want to see that
scenes.
either.
I can watch murders.
Yeah,
all day
me too.
long. Like, I'll intentionally go to Netflix and put on a
Yeah.
serial killer
And
documentary.
but even some of the
or
murders,
the kid stuff too. I can't do kid stuff.
No.
Kid stuff and sexual assaults are the two, like, for me, that just like I can't watch it. I get too emotional.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm an empath as well, so I'm way too sensitive to that. So I can, feel that, and I can't. I know it exists, and I'm here for those people, but I
exactly.
don't want to see it. I will hear about it. I have to hear about it, and but that's also perspective. Like, I would say that, I've had children that told me they were raped by their parents. Crazy, like parents that raped their children.
Yeah.
I don't even understand that. I've spoken to women that have been gang raped, like, which is crazy. Like, it's just insane, the stuff that I hear. And I think afterwards, the way that they feel, and how and the things that they say to me, in addition to those sad experiences or stories that they share, they become even more heart-wrenching for me. And I'm super sensitive, so I'm just like, wow. And I do realize that after they're sharing that it's really a gift from God. It's like, it's reminding me, like, dude, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
From when those people feel comfortable enough to speak to you about their past.
Just providing that safe space for people to be able to openly talk about all of it. Like, that alone, probably not even from having you give advice or any kind of offering on how to fix things necessarily, or even how to be comfortable with the fact something happened to you and it can't change. I think just talking about it, people probably leave you, whether it's a conversation online or in person, feeling like you did make an impact.
I would say one of the most impactful, I've actually shared it. I've actually had two experiences that were quite similar. I had one young lady write to me from somewhere in Europe, and she wound up saying, "Hey, I grew up here in this country. But now I live, let's say, Austria." And she's like, I'm 16 years old. My father's in jail. In fact, she said, actually, my father's in jail in Bosnia. So I'm like, damn, that sucks. Like, I was like, this young girl, really admired my writings. She's like, I've never seen a man that can express himself like that. And she's like, I really appreciate it. And so she's sharing. She's like, I just want to share my story with you. And then she's like, yeah, so I'm 16. My dad's in jail. And I'm like, damn, that sucks. And then she's just like, well, my dad's in jail because from 10 to 15 he used to rape me. And I'm just like,
what do you say to it?
Yeah,
how do you say that?
I didn't say anything. I just read what she wrote, and I didn't say anything. I didn't even have a response to her. I was just like, first of all, I was sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about her mental and her emotional health. And then I'm a father to a daughter, right? So even if I wasn't,
make it even tougher.
but the fact that I am just makes it even harder. So I'm saying to myself, I'm like, damn, this is just,
like, how can someone even do that?
and
I know that's the cliche thing to say,
how
but literally,
can anyone do it? But how can your own father disrespect your child? Like, what's wrong with, you're supposed to be the best example, and you're the first example of what a man's supposed to be, and the first example is a rapist.
yeah,
Bro, that's not even okay in any kind of way. There's nothing.
you're almost ruining any chances of that girl ever having a happy, fulfilling, loving relationship how it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Like, you were just setting them up to fail, and it's going to be real fucking hard if they want to change and not be that person because of how traumatic something like that is.
Exactly. And then it's funny that you just said exactly that, because then she says to me, she winds up writing back to me maybe like 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, she says, I want to apologize. And I'm saying to myself, what? Like, what is this? I'm already emotional as hell. So I'm just like, what is this child apologizing to me about?
Yeah.
And then she says, well, I'm apologizing to you because, she's just like, the reason why I want to say I'm sorry is because what I shared with you, it must have been really heavy for you to hear. But she says, I don't even need you to worry about me though, because ever since I came across your writing, I feel like I'm going to be okay. Yo, bro, don't let the tattoos and the beard, dude. I was crying,
with the
bro.
goosebumps.
Bro, listen, I silently started crying. I was just like, wow, like I just couldn't even hold it in. I was so emotional from hearing that. And, I had an immediate conversation with God. I was like, I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then at the same time, that's a reminder that I'm doing the right thing, because that child felt comfortable enough to be that vulnerable and share this horrible experience that went on for 5 years of her childhood.
That's insane.
Yeah. And she's like, you make me believe in men. Like, that's crazy. Like, she doesn't even know me.
Yeah.
She'll probably never meet me. And she doesn't think that all men are bad, and that she thinks she actually has a chance now because of just the way that I express myself when it comes to love and healing. So that to me was just, it makes it all worth it. Like those moments.
That comfortability aspect with you.
Yeah.
I have to remember we're on a podcast right now. I just want to be like, all right, well, help me out with this real quick. Just So you're based in most of this. Do you have any other social media? Because I know your Instagram, like you put a lot of time and effort in the Instagram. And so what's your handle real quick? Because I want to throw it up on the screen too, so people can check you out.
The real MR North, the real Mr. North on social media, on Instagram. It's actually the same on Twitter, even though I don't really use Twitter like that. I need to.
Yeah.
But Instagram is where I just put most of my stuff. You can find me on Facebook under Michael North. On
the real MR North.
Yeah.
No dots, no hyphens, nothing.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't miss me. I have a big beard.
Pretty sure like you had the same look when you walked in, like beanie, sunglasses, aviators, beard.
Yeah, just like my freaking logo.
Yep. That's smart.
Yeah.
Recognizable.
Yeah.
And so we're going to start wrapping up here pretty soon, but is there anything else you want to talk about, stuff you're doing? Like I know you're moving to Austin. It's like you have all these opportunities, which sometime in the next year I want to catch back up with you.
Of course.
And talk about them and see.
I'll be back before then.
I want to hear the journey.
Back and forth. Yeah.
So I want to give you some time though, to when you come back, you're like, okay, so remember where I was last time? Well, holy fucking shit.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely gonna be a lot of that. Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to getting out to Texas, because there's some great people. I do have a great support system. There's some great friends who are pretty much just like family now, and just are just kind of waiting on me with open arms. And then just also some great business opportunities with some great people as well. So I'm excited for a change for a bit, and I'll be back and forth, but most of my time will be spent there. So I'm looking forward to this new chapter of my life.
It sounds fun. Sounds like an adventure. If nothing else, it sounds like a real cool experience to go try some new stuff like that.
Yeah.
So website, do you have like an official website where you kind of put up your rates if someone wants to take to the next step and do the counseling?
Absolutely. It'll be up probably around the next 2 weeks, but it's going to be therealmrnorth.net. Not .com. I took that site down. It's gonna be an all new site.
Okay.
Much more interactive. People would contact me, see exactly who I am, what I'm offering, and just the advice that I'm putting out there on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But it'll be therealmrnorth.net. It should be up around the next 2 weeks.
So for now, Instagram, and I'm sure you'll post updates.
Instagram's the best way and the essential way to contact me.
Okay.
And check out what I do and what I'm sharing with the world on a daily basis.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. I know it was like last minute and you're leaving out of California in 3 days. But it's been a long time, bro. Long time coming. And I'm glad I had you here.
Yeah.
Glad I got to meet you in person, talk to you.
Definitely appreciate it, brother.
No worries.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Who will love you? Who will